Hello everybody. The year 2024 in Brazil was not only marked by the hustle and bustle of carnival and the rhythmic beats of samba, but also by a surprising change, a spiritual revival that brought a fresh breeze to many people. In a country known for its Catholic majority and vibrant nightlife, an unexpected phenomenon emerged. Thousands of people began embracing Islam. It all started in a large city, Sao Paulo, which became the center of modern and dynamic life in Brazil. Raphael, a young Brazilian who had returned after completing his studies in the Middle East, became the center of attention. However, it wasn't because of his cool appearance or the extraordinary journey he had undertaken. Instead, the focus was on him because he brought something different, something that would shake the perspective of many: Islam. Raphael was not born into a Muslim family. He was a Brazilian young man who felt there was a void in his life. In his quest for meaning, he found the peace he had been searching for in Islam. After years abroad, his life had completely changed. Every time he spoke about the teachings of Islam, his eyes would shine with enthusiasm. Islam teaches balance, peace, and love. That's what I found, he said while speaking to his new friends. Raphael couldn't just stay silent. He felt that many people in Brazil, especially the youth, were trapped in a fast-paced, pleasure-filled life while their hearts remained empty. With renewed passion, he began inviting people to attend his small seminars on Islam. No one could predict what would happen next. At first, only a handful of people attended. However, once word of mouth spread on social media, something extraordinary began to happen. Thousands of people, from various backgrounds, started to show up. They were curious. They were looking for something more than just entertainment and the luxury of city life. Many of them felt stuck in monotonous routines and spiritual confusion. Islam, with its teachings of peace and harmony, offered the answers they had been seeking. One of the most memorable seminars was when Raphael spoke about the concept of peace in Islam. He shared how this teaching encouraged loving others regardless of their backgrounds, appreciating every difference, and living a life full of gratitude. It wasn't just a religious teaching, but a life philosophy that made many people feel connected to something greater than themselves. Social media became the main battlefield for this movement. Thousands of photos and videos were shared, showing emotional moments as Brazilians first recited the Shahada and embraced Islam. The hashtag #IslamEmBrazil went viral. Many people who had previously never heard of Islam now flocked to seek more information. They visited newly built mosques, signed up for Arabic language classes, and enrolled in Quranic tafsir studies. However, this phenomenon wasn't only about the teachings of Islam captivating interest, but also about the spiritual awakening that touched many hearts. In the midst of a busy and materialistic life, many felt they hadn't found true peace. Raphael and his friends started a movement to address this concern, a movement that was now beginning to change the face of spirituality in Brazil. On the streets of Sao Paulo, hijabs and veils began to appear. A surprising sight in a country synonymous with carnival and colorful clothing. People who were initially skeptical now started asking, what made them choose this path? New Muslims began proudly talking about their choices, sharing their experiences, and spreading the sense of peace they felt in their lives. But, is Brazil ready for this great change? Can a country so closely tied to Catholic traditions accept Islam widely? That is still up for debate. But one thing is certain, a new spiritual wave is sweeping across Brazil. And this is just the beginning. Within just a few months of Raphael starting his small seminars, an unexpected phenomenon began to unfold across Brazil. What started as a small movement in Sao Paulo now spread to other major cities. Rio de Janeiro, Porto Alegre, Belo Horizonte, all became witnesses to the surprising rise of Islam. Thousands of Brazilians, who had no previous connection to this religion, now became interested in learning more about Islam. In large cities, mosques that were once quiet were now filled with people from various backgrounds. Some of them were young people searching for deeper meaning in their lives, while others were hard workers who felt that Islam provided them with a peace they hadn't found in their daily routines. These people came with the hope of finding peace and a higher purpose in life. In May 2024, a new mosque built in the heart of Rio de Janeiro became a significant symbol of this revival. The mosque was filled with people reciting the Shahada, changing their lives forever. This moment took many Brazilians by surprise. What is happening to our country? This question became more frequently heard. Even on national media, many television programs and discussions began to explore this phenomenon, trying to find answers. However, despite the growing interest and inspiration, this phenomenon was not fully accepted by everyone. The Catholic community in Brazil, which makes up over 60% of the population, began to feel uneasy. The Catholic Church in Brazil, a highly influential institution in social and cultural life, felt the impact of this shift. Catholics, who once felt secure in the dominance of their faith, now saw the rise of an unexpected challenge. In some smaller towns, meetings between churches and mosques became intense debate arenas. In cafes and bars, the hottest topic of discussion was Islam. Why are so many Brazilians suddenly embracing Islam? Is this just a passing trend? These skeptical voices began to be heard here and there. Some viewed it as a threat to Brazil's long-rooted traditions and culture. Is this the end of Catholic dominance in Brazil? Became a question debated in public spaces. Even some prominent church officials began holding meetings to respond to this phenomenon. They were concerned that many Catholics were starting to question their faith, and more worryingly, the rise of a large movement that could change the social landscape of Brazil. We must maintain our Catholic traditions and values, urged one church leader at a church conference in Salvador. However, despite the many negative reactions, there were also more open voices. Some Catholic intellectuals and community figures began to see the phenomenon from a more positive perspective. They began to realize that this revival of Islam might offer an opportunity to enhance interfaith dialogue in Brazil, a country long proud of its diversity. They reminded Catholics not to see Islam as an enemy, but as a faith that teaches peace and brotherhood. Beyond the church and media, what was more interesting was the reaction of the general public. On the streets of the cities, mixed emotions were clearly visible. While some people felt threatened, many were also curious and wanted to learn more. In shopping centers, some newly converted Muslims began wearing hijabs and veils, proudly displaying their choices. On the other hand, small protest groups began to form, striving to preserve Brazil's Catholic identity. But one thing was certain: Brazil appeared to be in the midst of a major change. Unexpectedly, a country known for its vibrant carnival and beautiful beaches was now also witnessing a deeper spiritual revival. At the same time, within the growing Muslim community, there was an incredible spirit. They held community events, such as charity bazaars, tafsir seminars, and open discussions to introduce Islam to the broader public. They realized that although this change might bring challenges, they had the opportunity to present a better understanding of their religion, a peaceful faith that promotes love and teaches respect for one another. For many Brazilians, their first experience with Islam came with curiosity, and sometimes with admiration. In a mosque in Rio, a young woman named Carla expressed, "I feel so peaceful here. Islam teaches something I've been searching for in my life." Carla, who had previously felt trapped in a socially confusing life, now found a sense of calm she had never experienced before. As more people sought peace in Islam, and as Brazilian society became more open to this religion, the question was no longer whether Islam would be accepted, but how Brazil would handle it. The rise of Islam in Brazil in 2024 brought with it a series of challenges and conflicting hopes. While this phenomenon sparked confusion, anxiety, and concern, there was also a glimmer of hope emerging from within society. Amid the tension between long-dominant religious and cultural identities, a new opportunity to build a more inclusive and understanding society began to unfold. Amid the controversy and confusion, a group of brave individuals took the first step toward peace, interfaith dialogue. Muslim leaders who had recently embraced Islam, along with progressive Catholic figures, began organizing meetings to offer a deeper understanding of the teachings of Islam. In major cities like Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, and Belo Horizonte, such gatherings began with the aim of building bridges of understanding between the Catholic and Muslim communities. These meetings were not just limited to religious discussions, but also involved various aspects of social, cultural, and political life that were interconnected. "We have more in common than we think," said a Catholic priest at an interfaith event in Rio. "Both of our religions teach peace and compassion for others." In addition, during these meetings, the Brazilian Muslims began explaining how Islam is not just about religion and worship, but also about living a just, compassionate life, and respecting others. They invited Catholics to join in the fight against social issues, such as poverty and injustice. "Together, we can build a better world," said a Brazilian scholar who recently converted to Islam. These dialogues proved to be incredibly fruitful. Over time, more and more Catholics began to open their minds to Islam. They began to appreciate that, despite differences in teachings, the goal of living in peace and harmony remained the same. This interfaith dialogue opened opportunities for both sides to understand each other and work together for the common good. However, the integration process was not always easy. Brazil, which had long been known for its strong Catholic identity, had to face the reality that religious diversity was increasingly developing within society. In many cities, social tensions emerged in more conservative environments. Some Catholic families, feeling threatened by the rise of relatives embracing Islam, were confused and unsure of how to react. Some believed that Brazil's traditions, based on Catholic values, should be preserved at all costs, and they viewed Islam as foreign and even contrary to those values. These tensions were often visible in social settings, such as schools, workplaces, and smaller communities. In more traditional areas, there were concerns that Islam's influence could affect Brazilian culture, particularly related to celebrations like Carnival and other festivals rooted in Catholic traditions. Should we change our traditions for this new religion, was a question often posed by some conservative groups. However, amid these challenges, many saw the potential of Islam as part of Brazil's cultural diversity. They believed that religious diversity, if managed wisely, could enrich Brazilian society. In a coastal city in northern Brazil, Recife, an annual festival was even held that blended samba music with Islamic themes, uniting two seemingly different traditions that now respected and celebrated each other's cultures. Although deep differences remained, there was great hope for a more peaceful and inclusive future in Brazil. New social organizations formed by both Muslim and Catholic communities began working together to reduce poverty and improve access to education for the country's most marginalized groups. They used their platforms to spread messages of peace and understanding and introduce values of mutual respect for differences. On a family level, many young Brazilian couples who had embraced Islam began experiencing a shift in how they viewed the world. One such couple, Isabella and Luis, who had been deeply attached to Catholic traditions, decided to embrace Islam together after their spiritual journeys. "We've learned to respect each other more deeply, despite our different beliefs," Isabella said. "Islam taught me about inner peace that I had never felt before." Furthermore, in schools and universities across Brazil, programs teaching about religious diversity began to emerge. These initiatives encouraged students to understand that the world is not made up of just one religion or culture, but is full of beauty in its differences. The younger generation of Brazilians, more open-minded than before, hoped to build a future where every religion and culture could coexist peacefully. With the growing number of people converting to Islam, Brazil began to emerge as an example of a country capable of embracing significant social change without sacrificing its national identity. The rise of Islam not only changed the religious landscape in Brazil but also shifted how Brazilians viewed their world. The country, once known for its carnival excitement and samba spirit, was now also recognized for its spirit of togetherness and interfaith tolerance. This new Brazil is a country that celebrates diversity, not just in terms of ethnicity and culture, but also in terms of religion. Despite being divided by differences, its people were increasingly finding ways to live together peacefully, respect others' beliefs, and celebrate unity. Over time, Brazil's Muslim community became more confident that they could be an integral part of this vibrant nation. They not only brought spiritual change, but also contributed to building a more just and peaceful society. While the challenges they faced would not be easy, their spirit of introducing Islam in a peaceful and loving way made them part of Brazil's great story in the 21st century. Thus, the rise of Islam in Brazil in 2024 was more than just a religious phenomenon. It was a social movement that teaches us about the power of change and the ability to celebrate differences. Amid the challenges, Brazil is now on the brink of a new era, a country that is more inclusive, more peaceful, and more open to diversity.